Ladies and gentlemen, insomniacs of geopolitics, good day and welcome to Daily Roast News, where diplomacy goes to die politely in hotel conference rooms while missiles do the talking outside. Tonight's main event comes to you live from Berlin, the city that once hosted Cold War standoffs and has now upgraded to Cold Coffee War summits, as world leaders attempt to negotiate peace in Ukraine while Russia continues bombing the place like it didn't get the memo. Berlin this weekend has become the global Airbnb for crisis management. Delegations flying in, suits shaking hands, translators sweating, and press releases being drafted before meetings even start, because hope, apparently, now comes with bullet points. Germany is hosting what it calls critical diplomatic talks, which is diplomatic language for everyone is tired and we need this to stop before winter knocks out the power grid again. At the center of this circus is the Trump administration's new peace diplomacy, a strategy that looks suspiciously like real estate negotiations. Leading the charge is Steve Witkoff, a real estate executive turned peace envoy, because nothing says end a brutal war like someone whose main experience is negotiating square footage and closing dates. Alongside him is Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, proof once again that American foreign policy still runs partly on Thanksgiving dinner conversations. Ukraine, meanwhile, has sent serious negotiators, including former Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, while President Volodymyr Zelensky himself has landed in Berlin not to sightsee, but to personally plead for what is now being marketed as a fair idea, freezing the war exactly where it is. In other words, everyone stops shooting, nobody admits defeat, and we all pretend this was the plan all along. Zelensky is asking for a dignified peace, which in diplomatic terms means we're not signing anything that lets Russia come back in 5 years to finish the job. He wants security guarantees, real ones, not thoughts, prayers, or laminated promises. NATO-like protection without actually being NATO, because apparently NATO membership is now the international equivalent of being left on red. Europe, watching nervously, has decided to jump into the meeting before Washington decides everything over coffee and vibes. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is hosting a bigger summit tomorrow, bringing in Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, NATO's Mark Rutte, and basically anyone who still believes Europe should have a say in its own security future. The goal? Align positions, look united, and gently remind the U.S. that Europe exists beyond being a military bill and a migration problem. Meanwhile, while diplomats talk peace indoors, Russia is outside doing the opposite. Over the same weekend, Ukraine absorbed hundreds of drones and missiles, targeting energy plants, ports, and anything that still produces light or heat. Power outages spread, because nothing strengthens a negotiation position while the talks are happening. It's hard to sell a ceasefire when the bombs are still punctual. The sticking points remain exactly where they've always been: territory, territory, and more territory. Russia wants Ukraine to withdraw first, a classic you-go-first strategy, while Ukraine wants ironclad guarantees that Moscow won't treat the ceasefire as a reload break. Add disputes over military size, nuclear facilities like Zaporizhia, and who controls what on the map, and suddenly freezing the front lines sounds less like peace and more like a very dangerous pause button. Just to spice things up, Turkey's President Erdogan has floated his own limited ceasefire idea: protect energy infrastructure and ports, which is diplomatic code for let's stop bombing the stuff that hurts everyone economically. Another layer, another mediator, another proposal destined for the pile of interesting but unlikely. But if the battlefield realities weren't messy enough, Donald Trump decided to light up the internet from the sidelines. In viral interview clips that have spread faster than a TikTok conspiracy theory, Trump declared Europe weak and decaying, blamed migration for turning cities into dystopian novels, and suggested some countries may soon stop being viable altogether. Nothing boosts alliance morale like telling your allies they're basically finished. These comments, conveniently timed with the Berlin talks, have poured petrol on already fragile transatlantic relations. European officials are alarmed. Critics call it far-right fear-mongering. Conservatives cheer it on, and social media has turned the whole thing into memes, reaction videos, and culture war ammunition. Trump's new national security strategy doubles down, warning of Europe's civilizational erasure, questioning whether allies with low birth rates and high migration can still be trusted militarily. Translation: are you still useful, or should we renegotiate the friendship? So here we are. Peace talks happening in Berlin, bombs falling in Ukraine, Europe scrambling to stay relevant, and the U.S. president publicly roasting the very allies he's pressuring to accept a deal. It's a fragile moment, a high-stakes gamble, and a reminder that modern diplomacy now happens in two places, behind closed doors and on viral clips. Will these talks produce a ceasefire or just another carefully worded disappointment? Will Europe shape the outcome or be told about it afterward? And will the war pause or simply wait for the next round? One thing is certain: history is being negotiated in hotel rooms, while the internet argues in comment sections. And as always, Daily Roast News will be here, watching the suits talk peace while the world holds its breath. If you enjoyed this roast of global diplomacy, hit subscribe, because geopolitics isn't getting any calmer, and neither are we.